All
Go
right,
ahead.
welcome to Manage the Mental. I'm EJ. You can just professionally, you can call me Eric Warren Jr. I am an LMFT, licensed in various states, but on here, just call me EJ. And I am
Bro,
accompanied by the best co-host that a co-host can have.
my name is Terrence Stewart, licensed therapist. Yeah, and I appreciate that intro. My co-host E, and we are here to drop some information on a certain topic we saw on the Oprah podcast. Oprah podcast has been doing some numbers, been doing some crazy, not even just content, but it's had a lot of subject matter. And one of the subject matters was around men's loneliness. Scott Galloway was on the show recently, and we want to bring this perspective from a licensed therapist perspective on that conversation more specifically and what our thoughts was on it. Yeah. So yeah, E, what did you think? I mean, I can get it started too. I
No,
mean,
no, I'll say a little something about
because
it. I
I
think
mean,
it's
you were saying
profound.
you were saying a lot, man, and I was like, oh,
Yeah,
we should have been press record. That's why I
yeah,
was like, let me just give it to you because I was like,
yeah,
you were saying some fire.
yeah. I think um, essentially, for lack of better words, the chickens have come home to roost. I
Mhm.
think since we'll just say we came upon the shores of Jamestown, Virginia, back in the 1700s, as people that provided free labor. The whole dynamic has always been the a hierarchy in which you know patriarchs run everything. It's a patriarchal society, and that's what it's going to be, how it's going to be, and that's what it is. That worked fairly well for probably over 400 years, so to say. But things have changed. Okay, things have changed, and unfortunately, a lot of men, for whatever reason, have not been socially updated, and they are not socially aware of these changes. Partly because maybe the way that they were raised, if they were raised in a situation where they saw their dad pretty much barking orders to their mother, if that was the dynamic or whatever, they just assumed that, hey, that's just the way it's supposed to be. Mama gonna be here. Mama gonna be in the kitchen, barefoot, pregnant, and whatever daddy says, that's what goes, and that's how I want my wife to be. Not knowing that some things were going to be changing, some things were going to be coming down the pipeline, in which America really, create as deep as it is, and I don't want to get too deep, but what we see the modern woman today is directly correlated to mass incarceration, in particularly with Black and Brown communities, where they, at some point in time, they took so many men from homes and actually can go back a little further. It can actually go back to the 70s, in which, when it with the welfare system and things like that. But when you started to remove men from homes, whether it's just because of, I don't know, government assistance, all the way to mass incarceration, it forced women to kind of have to do double the work. And as a result of having to do double the work, there were many daughters that watched and observed their mom doing double the work. And you know how it is with women, you know, they get stuff done. It just is what it is. They know how to get stuff done. And so they watched them do double the work. And naturally, it taught them. They were watching it, seeing like, oh, I don't really, yeah, I ain't got to put up. Not only do I, in their mind, I do this independently, but I'm not going to put up with no mess either, because at the end of the day, women are starting to understand, okay, we do live in a patriarchal society, but more importantly, it's a patriarchal society. And I'm butchering my words this morning. It's that type of society, but it's under the veil of a capitalistic society. And
Mm-hmm.
so a lot of women understand now, this big bank take little bank. What are you
Mm-hmm.
going to tell me? If we wanted to go do something right now, to go purchase this I'm able to do that. And it's not the woman's fault that she's been wired like that. She's been kind of socially engineered to do that. What comes the problem with the men is they haven't updated themselves to realize, like, hey man, it's a lot of women raising these kids solo. So I have to adjust the way I show up and wanting to be able to maybe court a woman or date a woman or whatever, or try to build a relationship with a woman, because she's not gonna be, chances are, I'm not gonna find a woman that's gonna sit around in 2025 just getting in the kitchen, that's gonna stay barefoot and getting pregnant. It's not finna happen. So again, this stuff can be traced all the way back before we were born, T.
Yep.
We saw this coming, and now we have hit that boiling point in which now you're starting to see men very, very lonely. They're lonely, and some of that has to do with they found confidants, by way of technology, playing video games all day. That occupies and so they're not necessarily, men don't necessarily care for themselves as much as they used to. The next time you're where you are, drive around, I want you to pay attention to how many gyms you see, but then also look at how many Pilates studios, yoga studios, all these different stretch labs that are really, the data will tell you, are occupied primarily by who? Women. And so they're prioritized. So you can't, so women are now at a point where guys, the women want to be in a relationship, unless she has some type of personality disorder where she really has drunk some type of sauce and thinks that she's bigger than the program, in which, not trying to be offensive, but usually those are women that, by mid 50s, they're in some random grocery store buying cat litter and cat food. Yeah, they're looking for those sales now, because that attitude, that's what that gets you. That's a whole nother episode, though. We ain't gotta,
Mhm.
don't get me going on that. You know, this is fine as she want to be, but she's buying kitty litter.
Buying
That's
cat
what
food.
that's what happens when you start thinking you're bigger than the program. God has set up things in a way. Anytime we try to go outside of it, it's gonna get choppy.
Mhm.
But going back to what I was saying, guys are feeling more lonely, and because they have not been instructed for accountability, to how to be able to take accountability, their whole thing is just to blame women for their problems. Oh man, they think they either want too much, or they doing this, or they, no, it's not that. You have to take care of yourself, and you got to move with the times, man. You're
Mhm.
trying to essentially sell women CDs in the
Woo.
world of iTunes. You can't. What are
Mhm.
you doing, bro? It ain't gonna work. You got to update yourself, champ.
Mhm.
And it's the same, but not. And don't get it twisted, though. Every coin has another side. So
Absolutely.
we're gonna flip that over real quick. And it's the same thing for women. Women got to update themselves too.
Yeah.
If you think in 2025 you just gonna be cute, and you gonna think cute is gonna pay the bills, I got news for you. I would love to have a sit down with you after your 35th birthday and let me know how much cute is paying the bills. And now, of course, if you got somebody paying your bills at a geriatric facility or something like that, and you giving Ernest a ride for his life, say you sending him pictures and stuff like that. Hey, by all means, do your thing. But by and large,
Mhm.
cute ain't finna pay the bills. Like, you gotta contribute too. So I think we're having a deficiency in the way we socialize. I think there is a significant deficiency in the way we socialize with one another, and both parties, male and female, need to be updated if we want to be able to experience happiness together. It's 8 billion people in this world. As a man, you're
Mhm.
not finna tell me that all 4 billion women are no good. Like, stop.
Yeah.
Stop. Just say you prefer to play video games than being with a significant other, and that's cool. You know what I'm saying? It's no
Mhm.
problem, but there's no way that you're gonna generalize and just say, "Oh, women are just." No, it's not that. And the same thing with a woman. You're not gonna. It's 4 billion men. You're not gonna say all men are just. No, it's not that. It's not that. We
Yeah.
have to have accountability in which we look to see how we can improve our dynamics.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna let you go some before I step on a
Now I'm
soapbox.
listening, man. I'm listening. Everything you said, I most definitely agree with. There, I like the angle you took because there's accountability, and anything we talk about, we want to talk about accountability. And even when I was even thinking about it, because I never thought about the part where you're like, hey, well, this is just a consequence for how women have been treated, right? So now women are on the rise, and all the things a man may have done per se on the provisional level, not everything, but just providing, women are doing for themselves. So we have this mantra in our culture now where it's like, well, I don't need a man for anything. Or I don't need men for whatever it is that you desire a man for, more financially. So it kind of leads to for me, it's like, okay, well, men, what are we to do? Right. And that's the part where I was like, okay, well, accountability is good, but also the way we were doing things prior to is not going to attract women. Now, not all women, because some women do, may want somebody to come and save them, quote unquote, or pay the bills, or there are some women out here that want to be housewives. I'm not sure if you ever experienced this, Eric, but I've talked to, I'm gonna say the women I've talked to, not just like friends and things of that nature, not in a romantic way, but friends and colleagues. And a lot of women are okay with being romanticized, and they're okay with this idea of, okay, well, I'm just gonna meet somebody rich and I'm gonna not have to work anymore. And these are women with degrees. Not saying it's all women, but I just get I get shocked sometimes where there's still that kind of urge, even though women may have a degree or they may be self-sustaining, they would still like to be courted and taken care of. And I think that may be part of the feminine energy because women are tired of being masculine, even though they have to, because that's what they have to do. There's if there's again, we talk about survival techniques. Women may have to put on this masculine facade for the sake of survival. Like I have to be the man and the woman in my house because the man's not there. And it naturally has been embedded in our culture where now women take on, either inherit or they decide to take on this masculine role, and they do it so well to the point where it's like, okay, why would I need a man? And then men, we're sitting back like, okay, well, what can I have? What I have to offer? What can I do? Because the question was always, okay, what do you bring to the table? And it's okay, well, this is what I bring to the table. This is what you bring to the table, and we can see if we can eat off this table. But essentially, in a relationship, just my own personal preference or my personal thought is that if you come together with somebody, you should be trying to build a table instead of trying to put something on a table. So just circling back to what you're saying with the accountability front, I like that part because now we get to the point where are we really doing the things that we need to do in order to get into these healthy relationships, or are we just trying to fit the mold of this survival? Like the women are trying to survive. It's hard to let go of that masculinity, hard to let go of that idea. But again, I've talked to women that say, like, hey, if a man comes by and they're willing to pay for everything and I don't have to work, I'm okay with that. And I just kind of wonder, is that thought still alive or is that realistic? I don't think in our society per se now it's realistic for men to do that with just a common job or just like a education per se. But some
think
women
it's
may want to do that.
I think it's location based. I think somebody in the likes of Cheyenne, Wyoming, I think they can have that lifestyle. I think somebody in the middle of the Dakota somewhere, they can have that lifestyle.
Mhm.
Um, if you're talking about Los Angeles, California, though, oh,
The likelihoods are slim.
very, very slim. It's
Very much
just
so.
not
Mhm.
unfortunately, that's just not the way it works here.
So we talk about like being realistic instead of like being realistic, like if you live in Los Angeles and you're a woman trying to get swept off her feet by Prince Charming that has all this money, it's a less likelihood that it may happen unless you're around a certain circle that people do that. But for the common man, that's not something that is going to happen. And I think this is what it leads to the high heel effect, like what Scott Galloway was talking about was, okay, well, if women desiring that, they're not getting that. What is there to do next? What is there really to do next?
Well, let me just add this little piece to it for what you said.
Mm-hmm.
I hear everything that you said, and it is very, very profound. Yet we have to talk about, we don't want to just overgeneralize everything because the black experience is going to be different than maybe from other cultures. And in
Mm-hmm.
particular, just say with dating, black folk dating or whatever, women that desire to be kept full time and things like that, it becomes very, very hard to find a person that can do that. And that person remain like, saying 100 monogamous and loyal and things like that, simply because women have to be mindful that if a man does very well for himself, and if he is raised by a single mother, which is quite possible. That's not abnormal in the black community. If he does very well for himself and he happens to be raised by a single mother, he will allow you to come in his life for the time being or whatever. But eventually, if he feels as though you're being kept, he will identify you as lazy,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you don't have a child or a family with him. He will identify you as lazy because inadvertently, subconsciously, we always reflect and trace things back to childhood. Adulthood
Yeah.
always finds itself being reintroduced to childhood or finding a way back to childhood for various references. And if a man has seen his mom work to the bone, make it
Mm-hmm.
happen. Boom, 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 boom. Make it happen. And they understand that and they respect their mama for that because everything, he's not trying to come home to see you scrolling on TikTok. It may work for a little bit, but eventually that's going to be a bit of a challenge because he's going to be like, dang, you're being kept because you're cute. And so at this point, right now, it is convenient to have you here because there's various things that we do or whatever, but I don't know if we're compatible. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the difference. And women have to experience the same thing as well. With guys, there's convenience and then there's compatibility. And oftentimes people get the two mixed up.
Mm-hmm.
They will get the two mixed up, T.
Absolutely.
And so you have to know, just going back to that whole dynamic period, what you're talking about with women that desire to be kept, it's the United States of America. Do you, boo? Whatever you want. If that's what
Mm-hmm.
you want, go for it. You know, you also have to respect the data too and the likelihood of you actually excelling. Do you possess the qualities that will allow you to excel in that way where you can get one person? What I'm saying, that's gonna really say, oh yeah, I'll take care of you for life or whatever. That may not, the likelihood of that is going to be very, very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Again, in some of the flyover states, you can probably, have the time of your life in Nebraska. But if you're one of these big cities, LA, Chicago, Houston, New York, the way the rent is set up, okay,
House
the
market
way
crazy.
the landlord's demand, the way it's set up, is not really conducive. You paying $5,000 a month for rent, and it's only coming out of one wallet. Eventually, no matter what it is, at that there becomes a thing known as emotional fatigue, and it's like, man, you ain't gonna kick in nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's how, saying something else ends up taking place where that situation doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Because we have these lofty expectations. And it's the same thing with a guy. Oh man, I want her at home. I don't want her doing nothing. Sir, sure, not in LA County, you don't. Not on that salary. Where are you where are you trying to go?
Where you at?
Because keep in mind, it's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of women that are very much women are providers. And we don't talk like I know it's easy. It just sounds right to say, "Oh, you're supposed to be women provide too. They're
Mm,
capable of providing too. Look how many educated women you have out here. You think they sat in them classes learning calculus, statistics, and all this other stuff
mhm,
just because they ain't have nothing else to do? No, they want to be
mhm.
able to excel. So it's
I got
best
you.
that you pair with somebody that you can, build with. Like I
Yeah,
said, not what you bring to the table, but hey, are you willing to help me build this table?
yeah, yeah. Man, that in itself, what you were saying, as far as like looks, and I think this is where a lot of men we get a lot of things misconstrued is where we may want one thing is like, hey, I want a trophy wife, or I want somebody to be with me. That just looked good on my arm, but is that who you really want to be with? And I think this is again case by case because there might be a man that's important to you, but again, looks fade away. Support doesn't. Emotional support or finding out what a man really wants. Because even in the topic of being lonely, more specifically in relationships, um, men were not automatically emotionally in tune. So we may not really know what we want. So we may think we want one thing in a relationship, such as like a trophy wife, or we may want somebody that looks cute, but then also when those looks fade away, or the the person gets older, you start to realize like the reason why you're with this person is very shallow,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, you may try to be trying to take care of somebody or whatever it may be, but it's very shallow. So then I think that's going back to your point of the accountability is like you really have to look in the mirror and not impose yourself in the way where you're just like, okay, well, I'm just with this person for this reason or this one reason, but what is it that you really want? And that takes a lot of self-evaluation. Like when you're trying to pick somebody to be with, do you want somebody to support you? Do you want somebody to financially, excuse me, financially build with? Do you want somebody to be spiritually grounded or sounded with you? Um, so going back to the accountability part, I like again what you're saying about how men we need to figure out what is it that we want in relationships as opposed to doing things we feel like we want to pursue in a relationship because that's not sustainable. That's not sustainable at all. Um, I know we just kind of going back to the topic of like the men's loneliness and how I guess it's a frame of like comeback for women right now and retributions are being paid since for so many years women have been down. There's the philosophy is what goes up must come down and what goes down may have to climb back up. And I think women right now are on the up and up, which is a great thing. I'm not in any way, shape, or form, we're saying that women shouldn't excel or, things of that nature. But going to your point again, like the upgrading, the updating, we need to get with the times and we need to learn how to adapt. And a lot of times, men, we are stubborn at times. And it's hard to adapt. We see a woman making more money than us, and that might make us feel uncomfortable. But in
Which
this
I never
society, we have to
understood
adapt
that.
to that.
See, I never understood that. I'd be
Well,
like,
it happens
well,
because
shut well.
yeah, it for sure happens. I mean, it happens. You know what I mean?
It
But
does, but I just be like, huh? You upset because man, look, she's a neurosurgeon, sir.
now there is a
You
difference
fix
if
carburetors for a living. Shut up. You're
now
not like chill out.
it has it'd be a difference though, if the woman is antagonizing them about it. We're like,
Totally
oh,
different. Totally different.
weaponizing it, right? But like if we got to call a spade, and that is what it
That
is.
don't have anything to do with our occupation. That has everything to do with our personality, though.
There you go. Yeah, 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 absolutely.
And if she mean, you shouldn't have been with her. I don't care how she is. That's just like a woman marrying a professional athlete that you know good and well how ratchet that person may be. You know what I'm saying? Eventually, he
All right.
won Achilles tear from being, done.
Mm-hmm.
And now you sitting here looking like, huh?
Gone.
You married for the wrong reasons.
Wrong reasons. I
Yeah,
agree.
but you can't that what you're talking about, that's a whole different ball game. If somebody
Mm-hmm.
tries to weaponize their money. But that's
Yeah.
why it's important. Listen, don't marry a person if you can't bring your own part. If you don't have your own, because it's you risk the chance of somebody really, really treating you wrong. Fact of the matter is, people treat you different when you have money. I don't. Can we just talk about that?
Mm-hmm.
In the greater society, people treat you different. I'm not saying it's right, but let's keep it 1,000. People treat you different when you have money in society. And I'm here to tell you, it also is the same in the home.
Mm-hmm.
People treat you different. People will put up with just a little more. They got a little more bandwidth for your foolishness when they know
Yeah.
that 20,000 is coming in every month.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like people treat you different when you have money. But it's not right though. That's why you gotta choose on a biblical level, they talk about being equally yoked.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's not just belief as it pertains to spirituality, but I think it's also personality.
Yeah.
You got to understand God is omnipresent. He's not just in the four walls of a church. And you're not going to spend all your life, your marriage in a church. You're gonna spend it outside. So what is the personality?
Yeah.
Like you got to be equally yoked there on the way you handle things. If you come up and you get a whole lot of money, you're gonna start, texting your wife, hey, my food better be on the table. T.
Nah, real talk.
Or if
Real
she hit
talk.
the if she hit the lotto and she say, hey, don't talk to me until next week.
Mm.
There's some hot pockets in the freezer.
All bad. All bad. It's not
You know what I'm
like, yeah,
saying?
you
Like
didn't hit the lotto. We hit the
that's
lotto.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So,
But for guys, I will tell them, man, I think past the age of 35, that whole look thing, it don't carry as much weight, man. You
mm-hmm.
start learning that, a whole nickel is far more valuable than a broken dime. It just is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta make the right moves. Uh and same thing for women. You see the guy that, oh, you so handsome and stuff like that. Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. You better get the Carfax, baby.
No, I hear you. I hear you. Now, I wouldn't promote, what I would say, I wouldn't promote just dating somebody you're not attracted to. But I think, because sometimes you're like, okay, well, this person X, Y, and Z, but you're not physically attracted to them. Even though it seems like a shallow trait, you do gotta stay with that person for some time. You know, but not being the only attribute or the main attribute. I would say it's like if you're with somebody just for their looks and everything else is their personality is horrible. Yeah, like somebody has a great personality, it can overcompensate their looks for sure.
Yeah, and you gotta, as when you're talking about marriage and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
you have to look at the long run.
Yeah.
You have to look at the long run. I would almost tell anybody, if you're dating a person and you think about their top five, the best attributes they have, and you guys are on the brink of like getting married and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
if their physical aesthetics is in the top five, that could be a red flag because long term, you need spirituality, you need personality,
Mm-hmm.
you need mental health, you need, social, awareness, how somebody behaves and things like that. And then you just want their overall loyalty. So which of those long term would you remove
Mm-hmm.
to insert? Man, she thick. Which one do you remove? Because she toting the tail. Which one do you remove? Because she's amazing. She's flat out. Which one do you remove?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think any of those need to be removed. I understand it's good at 30 and 40 and stuff like that. Eventually, she's going to be 80. And that figure, that hourglass figure that you're falling in love with right now, yeah,
Maybe a Coke bottle.
yeah, it's going to
I
eventually
said
turn into a
bottom
mustard
too.
bottle,
Yeah.
a 2 liter.
Yeah. 2 liter Coke bottle. I was thinking of
Yeah,
a bottom of a Coke.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's not gonna be, and that's just the way things go. So don't,
Yeah,
you gotta have more in depth. You don't want to be so surface. And
yeah,
so, but going back to the whole thing in regards to loneliness that men experience, I think by and large, I've talked to you about it before. Uh, it is a crisis. That's without doubt. It's definitely a crisis. But
mm,
it's so long as they're able to put band-aids on it, on their loneliness, and they're able to do it every time they pick up their phone. Every time they pick up their phone. This is data. It's been shown that, people essentially get hit with it with dopamine anytime they open up one of these apps, any five of them, from Reddit to TikTok to Instagram to Facebook to X, you're able to get an instant hit because you're
mm,
seeing something that you like or something that turns you on, or maybe you put a post up and somebody liked it and it gives you that kind of, and so it allows you just to, okay, let me cool back down. And then when you are
mm.
feeling bored, now it's not even so much, I think there's an intersection between boredom and loneliness. You know what I
Boredom
mean?
and
And
loneliness. Mm,
yeah, I think there's a intersection because people, anytime they feel they are bored, instead of, like being able to think about like, man, I'm bored because I'm alone. I ain't got nobody. They are immediately able to get that quick fix from that phone. And the next thing you know, they're doom scrolling for 2 hours.
yeah,
So
going
that's
crazy.
just my perspective on that.
Nah, that's well said, man. I mean, the last thing I'll probably say about this is for men, there is a level of accountability, but I also would say don't, for men, the men that's listening, don't put your whole identity into one, what you do because, or what you can provide for a woman, because you trying to do things in a general sense doesn't make it more specific. And what I mean by that is when you think about who you're going to be with, it's like a custom made thing, right? Like even me being married, what I do for my wife may not work for another woman, but but I know what works in our relationship. So whether if it's doing certain chores, whether if it's paying certain bills, whether if it's cooking or whatever it is, you have to figure out one, what's important to you, and then also if there's somebody that you're trying to be with, just try to figure out what their needs are as well too, because they may not need you financially, and that's okay. But there's probably other areas in which you can enhance their life. So don't feel as if you need to, there's always that fear of the provide, protect, and procreate. You can do all those different things because providing isn't always a financial exchange. You can provide on an emotional level. You can provide on a spiritual level. You can provide on so many other levels as opposed to just on a monetary or a monetized level. So, fellas that's listening, most definitely, I would encourage you guys to not feel as if you have to be a certain way just based on what society says. But if you do find somebody who, maybe has that high heel effect where a woman may have everything together, they may not quote unquote need you um, on the surface, but internally there's probably more things you can do with her, or not with her. I mean, I'm pretty sure things you can do with her, but things you can do for her as opposed to what you feel like you should do for her. And that's again, it's a custom built. It's not a generic. So what her needs may not be the next person needs. You have to discern whether or not you can meet her needs early on.
Yeah, and I would say this to any guys that listen. If a woman's success causes you to feel inferior,
Mm,
her success isn't the problem.
mm,
Her success ain't the problem. It's something you got going on inside where you ain't felt good enough about yourself. And basically, in order to feel your best self as a man, you need a woman to have a certain posture, a certain social or financial posture. Her success is not the problem. It's something that you took into, what I'm saying, that you probably learned at a very early age and you never unpacked it. And so now you're carrying it around in your 30s, 40s, 50s, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Her success ain't the problem.
absolutely. I agree with you. Man, I appreciate y'all for tapping in. Anything else, E? I think we covered a lot.
No,
We
no,
covered a
just keep
lot.
on tuning in. These are just two guys that love to talk. We talk to people for a living, is what we do.
Yeah,
And so every once in a while, it's always good for us to be able to talk to each other as well, on a
100%.
hopefully on a weekly basis, and just talk about different subject matters and things that you all would love to know, to have our perspective on. I look forward to that.
100%. 100%. Make sure y'all like, share, subscribe, manage the mental. Make sure you guys check out all of our podcast outlets. Check us out on YouTube, social media, all those things, or TikTok, tickety tot, all that. Man, there's so many social media platforms, but just type in Manage the Mental. We gonna pop up. We gonna be there.
Yeah, let me see if I got where
You can
if
Google
I
it. You might
uh
ask your lady about us. Ask your
T
husband
said it,
about
not
us.
me.
They probably know how to find us.
T said it, not me. Hey, and to my guys out there, man, look, or not just my guys, my ladies and gentlemen, man, get y'all some of these coloring books, man.
Mm,
Engage in some of this coloring. We're gonna be talking about a lot of self-care stuff
got,
on this channel.
I
Get
got
get to
mine.
coloring. Trust me, it makes a difference. It makes a difference.
That's gonna
Yes,
be a whole
yes, sir.
different. Hey, you didn't. I'm gonna tell y'all, you didn't got me. I know y'all probably not gonna be able to see this if y'all listen to the podcast, but if you're on YouTube, look at it. I ain't never bought so many markers in my life. I done went to this man's affiliate link. I'm
Yeah,
sitting here
man.
like, but I use these for my clients and I use it for
Yeah.
myself. I be
It's
sitting
a,
here
it's a
like,
powerful thing, man. I had a client last week. I thought we was gonna color E. I was like, dang, you right. My bad. We'll do it next time. Cause she came in hot with a bunch of stuff. We like, we didn't even get to talk. Like, we'll do it next time. And this is older woman, and I got some older cats too. Guys that been like, E, I would have never thought in my life that I would be buying markers and coloring. He said, but it's something strange happens right after about like 3 minutes of doing it. You
mm,
forget everything. You're not picking up your phone. And
oh, no.
it's a good way I call it a mental massage, being able to color. It's a mental massage.
I don't think I ever gave you an update E on the coloring because I think last time I shared it with you, I was like, it's not my thing.
Yeah.
I think I've talked to you since then, and I'm not trying to like funk for the camera or the podcast. I would like really be coloring for real now because the last time we talked about it, I was like, it's like my second, third time. But now I've kind of got into a flow. I haven't colored in probably about a week and a half, or maybe about a week since I haven't been in the office. But nah, it takes some time to get used to, especially folks if you guys aren't used to coloring, or you may, for me it was like I don't know if it was like I wouldn't say it was traumatizing, but I was never good at coloring inside the lines. So like every time, even when I'm coloring now, I'm coloring, I'm looking, I'm like, man, like I'm kind of making mistakes. But then I think you had said something along the lines of like just kind of keep going. I forgot what you said about it, but I was like, every time it comes up, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not a child anymore. I'm an adult. You can make mistakes, right?
You make mistakes, man. It's
That's
teaching
the
you
part.
things. Like,
Yeah.
so often, so many times we create an error on something. We just say, oh, it's messed up. Nah, use
Mhm.
what you got. Do something with it.
Yeah.
And so if you got a little outside the line, keep going. All the best barbers know that. No fade is perfect. No fade is perfect, but they always finish the job
Yeah.
with the lining. They all because they know at the end of when the finished product is going to be like, wow, because I still get a chance to line. So just keep on. Don't worry about that. It's a little error. Just keep on coloring. Nobody will even notice it.
Ain't that life though?
Yeah, that is life.
And that's
That
like
is
symbolic to
life.
life, for real. It's like just
Yep.
keep going. You good. There is no perfection. You're gonna
No
make mistakes. You
perfection,
just
man.
have to. If you harp over the mistake, it will hinder you from finishing.
Yep.
And I think that the most definitely a big takeaway from the coloring is knowing you're going to make mistakes and trying to find a way to continue. Because even with colors, like I'm very symmetric when it comes to things. Like if I see, even I'll show you. If I show you again, y'all not gonna see this on you or on the other podcast, but like I'm very like this is outside, and the one's gonna
So
be
yeah, you
inside.
getting it.
So like
You
the
getting it.
green I'm gonna choose is gonna be the green for this, and then the green for the stem.
Yep.
But
Yep.
what happens is even when I'm coloring, I'm like, oh, that's not the right green, or that's not the right thing, and I'm like, you know what? Like you couldn't tell I've used like different greens on here, but I did. It just was like the same green.
Yeah.
But
It works though, bro. And
mhm,
we gonna run this coloring thing up. Watch.
most definitely. So
Watch.
again, check out Man's the Mental. We're gonna have all type of things speaking that, not even speaking that to the existence because it's already in the works. You guys most definitely tap in with us. Yeah, I think this was a great episode for sure.
For sure.
We got the
So
we got a whole little. We're gonna have a whole. I know we're talking about man loneliness and women high heel effect and all that stuff, but we gotta have a whole little talk about this color and probably a whole series about it. To be honest, because I don't think we'll ever cover it all in one episode.
I have a managed the mental coloring book coming for y'all by
Mhm.
and sometime in 26.
Absolutely. Let's do it. All right,
Yeah.
y'all take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll tap in with y'all until next time.